This is Fashion Fridays. Every Friday, we present you with a fashion icon or topic. Today we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Calvin Klein. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello, Aluxers. Today we're going to be talking about the hugely successful fashion brand Calvin Klein. Founded in 1968, Calvin Klein is among the rare squad of iconic brands that has ruled over the facets of boldness, sensuality, and aesthetics with grace for almost half a century. It is the global leader of understated but timeless clothing that has been thrust into the limelight with their signature provocative ads featuring everyone from Kate Moss to Justin Bieber. Calvin Klein's legacy has been deeply cemented into the global fashion industry, and it continues to dominate the contemporary and cool line of fashion. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. With all that said, it's time now to take a closer look at this ever so legendary brand with the 15 things you didn't know about Calvin Klein. Number 1. Calvin Klein was born into an immigrant family. It's hard to separate Calvin Klein from his eponymous brand because, of course, without him, there would be no Calvin Klein. He was born in 1942 in the borough of Bronx, New York, to Jewish-Hungarian immigrants. He acquired his love for sewing from his grandmother, who is a seamstress. His mom encouraged his interest towards art and fashion. Growing up, while kids his age were busy playing sports, Calvin would spend hours sketching, sewing, and studying fashion. Once he graduated from the Fashion Institute of Technology, he spent 5 years working as an apprentice in a coat and suit house in New York City. He spent his nights and weekends working on his own designs, but the company found out what he was doing, and they fired him before he could quit. Number 2. Calvin Klein jeans catapulted them to mainstream success. The provocative ads with young, attractive men in jeans, and only jeans, did help to bring attention to Calvin's iconic pair of jeans, widely regarded to be the first denim designer jeans to ever hit the market. Klein did try selling them in 1976 at $50 a pair, but they never took off. But the next year, he partnered with Puritan Fashions Corp., who was the world's largest dress manufacturer. But this time, instead of selling the original design, he made its fit more shapely. He raised the seam between the rear to give a more fitted look. The fashion icon Patty Hansen graced the Times Square billboard on all fours wearing the Calvin Kleins, with the company logo clearly visible on the back pocket. This launched the jeans into a whirlwind of success for the next 4 years. By 1979, they had sold $70 million worth of women's jeans. Number 3. Bonwit Teller was Calvin Klein's big lucky break. After he was fired from his job, Calvin Klein rented a small room at the York Hotel, where he opened up his own business with Barry Schwartz, his childhood friend. Schwartz ran the business side of things, while Klein focused on the designs. He exhibited a small collection of samples in that room. A vice president of Bonwit Teller stopped on the wrong floor, and by sheer luck ended up walking into Klein's showroom. He liked what he saw and said to Klein, "I will have a buyer down here tomorrow, and then on Sunday you'll have to come up to the store and show the clothes to President Mildred Custon." He did show her the collection, and she placed an order for $50,000 worth of clothing from him, and the exposure from that meeting helped him generate over $1 million in sales in his first year of business. Number 4. Marky Mark, aka Mark Wahlberg, made Calvin's the most famous underwear line in the world. Calvin Klein introduced men and women's underwear into his already extensive portfolio back in 1982. Through risque advertising and sexy campaigns, the company saw huge success, and it quickly produced an underwear line for women too, in a never-before-seen male-style briefs and shorts with a fly front. Calvin Klein signed on the then pop singer Marky Mark, otherwise known as Mark Wahlberg, for the ad campaign to promote the men's underwear line. The photographs with him in his Calvins have now become iconic. Both men and women started looking at underwear in a new light. They became highly sought after, and suddenly, fabric, design, and fit mattered in underwear. Number 5. Calvin Klein's net worth is $700 million. Calvin Klein is one of the most financially successful designers in the history of fashion, with a net worth of $700 million. Although this is definitely an impressive amount, he hasn't quite made it into the 3 Comma Club. Those designers who have made it into the exclusive club include Giorgio Armani with $9.6 billion, Ralph Lauren with $5.8 billion, and Michael Kors with $1 billion. Number 6. Calvin Klein almost declared bankruptcy back in 1992. Although from afar, sales never seemed to be a problem for this brand, Calvin Klein was very close to the brink of going bankrupt back in 1992. Their menswear line wasn't doing well, and there were also problems with employee turnover and with their licensing partner's company, which triggered the rumor that Calvin Klein was going up for sale. It was thought that a looming sale to a container manufacturer called Triangle Industries didn't come to fruition only due to the stock market crash, but their underwear line, which was a hybrid of boxers and briefs, and the success of their fragrance and sportswear lines brought them back into life, surpassing all of their previous year's growth. Number 7. ABC and CBS banned Brooke Shields' CK Jeans ad. Brooke Shields was 15 and already a famous model and actress when she seductively said to the camera, "Do you know what comes between me and my Calvins? Nothing." This ad caused an uproar among the public, and ABC and CBS quickly banned the ad from their networks. It might be true that all publicity is good publicity, because even this negative publicity surrounding the jeans made people want to try them on even more. The fit was so tight that a store in Manhattan bought in a sofa so their customers could lay back on it while they tried zipping up their Calvins. Number 8. The U.S. Justice Department investigated CK for child pornography. Calvin Klein has always been surrounded by controversies, but their biggest one of all came in 1995, when a well-known fashion photographer named Steven Meisel featured young-looking models in what looked like a wood-paneled basement. These ads were seen on billboards, city buses, television, and in print. These suggestive pictures created major controversies. The provocative images looked like amateur porn, and many parents felt it was child pornography. Because of the high volumes of complaints, the U.S. Justice Department looked into whether the company had violated any laws, but they found the brand had not used any underage models in their shoots. Calvin Klein eventually took out a full-page ad in the New York Times, stating they were shocked at how misunderstood their advertisements were. Number 9. Calvin Klein launched the first unisex fragrance in 1994. The first unisex fragrance was CK1, created by Alberto Morillas and Harry Fremont. It became a hot seller as soon as it was launched. It generated about $90 million in revenue in the mid-90s. The fragrance is a mix of sensuality and masculine assuredness. Its top notes are mandarin orange, cardamom, pineapple, papaya, and bergamot. Its middle notes include rose, jasmine, nutmeg, and orris root, and its base notes include musk, oak moss, sandalwood, and cedar. Number 10. Calvin Klein was acquired by Philips Van Heusen in 2012. In December 2012, Calvin Klein reached a deal with clothing brand Philips Van Heusen. PVH paid $400 million cash and $30 million in stock, as well as licensing rights, royalties totaling $200 to $300 million, and financial incentives to Calvin Klein to acquire the brand. Other brands owned by PVH include Tommy Hilfiger, Sean John, Speedo, and Michael Kors. And Aluxers, you can learn much more about that last designer by clicking in the top right corner to watch our video, The 15 Things You Didn't Know About Michael Kors. Number 11. Calvin Klein hired Kate Moss for her androgynous looks. Calvin Klein was looking for a model with androgynous features who wasn't curvy or popular. The first time Kate Moss visited Klein, she came with photos taken by her then-boyfriend, Mario Sorrenti. Calvin went on to send them to the Virgin Islands on an all-expenses-paid trip. They didn't have makeup artists or professional photographers to accompany them. When they returned, they came back with tons of amazing photos, some of which were used in the campaign. Number 12. Calvin Klein reached $977 million in revenue just from spending more on digital ads. PVH Corp., the owners of Calvin Klein, increased Calvin Klein ad spending by $15 million, which shot up the revenue by 18%, resulting in $977 million in sales. Their international sales increased by 23%, with revenue reaching up to $512 million. Sales in North America increased as well, going up 13%, bringing the revenue up to $464 million. Most of this growth can be attributed to their viral marketing campaigns, involving hashtags like #OurFamily and #MyCalvins, which many celebrities have taken part in, including the Kardashian-Jenner family. Number 13. Calvin Klein built a glass and concrete mansion for $75 million. Calvin Klein bought an oceanfront estate, which he renovated but then demolished completely to build a mansion that would take 5 years to complete. He even designed some of the furniture himself, as there was nothing out there to suit his taste. He built the mansion with glass because he wanted everywhere to look like an outdoor space. Calvin Klein also bought himself another mansion designed by Paul McLean in the Hollywood Hills for $25 million. It has 13-foot ceilings, glass walls, a garage for 8 cars, and an entryway with a bridge over a waterfall. Number 14. Calvin Klein's daughter was kidnapped on her way to school. Calvin Klein's daughter, Marcy Klein, was on her way to school when she was approached by Paula Rance-Lewis, a 23-year-old woman. She was a waitress, but for a short period of time she had also babysat Marcy. She approached Marcy and told her dad was ill and was admitted to Mount Sinai Hospital. Marcy got off the bus, thinking her former babysitter was taking her to see her father. Instead of a hospital, Paula took little Marcy to her apartment, where her half-brother and his friend were waiting. They then called Calvin and asked him to pay a ransom of $100,000 in exchange for his daughter. Calvin notified the authorities, and an undercover officer tracked him when he went to drop off the money. Eventually, he did get his daughter back, and Lewis and her accomplices were arrested. Number 15. Calvin Klein was the first designer to become a household name. The brand paved the way for sensual and minimalistic fashion style, influencing everything from hip-hop and grunge style of fashion to work clothes and evening dresses. Klein started with a simple vision of wanting American women to look more streamlined, which is why the brand's early designs exude simplicity and restraint. The brand sexualized advertising like no other, but it also forced men and women everywhere to pay attention to the basic wardrobe items. Although Calvin Klein has sold its label to PVH Corp., the new owners haven't strayed too far from what the brand is famous for: minimalistic and sensual fashion. Calvin Klein was actually the first designer to use his own name as the brand, and it has since become a household name. And there you have it, Alexers, 15 things you didn't know about Calvin Klein. Now that you've learned some more about the designer, we'd love to know. Do you think that Calvin Klein's brand will continue to survive after its founder passes away? Let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, for sticking with us until the end, you know you get a bonus. Here it is. Number 16. Calvin Klein changed its logo in 2017, and we bet you didn't notice. The change to Calvin Klein's logo in 2017 was subtle, but it was a huge deal considering that Calvin Klein's logo had not been changed since its inception. It used to be that only the letters C and K were in capitals. But in an attempt to make the logo even more modern, Calvin Klein's new chief creative officer, Raf Simons, added a subtle spin of freshness to the logo by capitalizing all of its letters. Thank you for spending some time with us, A-Luxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. Thank you for being an A-Luxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.